Kirby's kinda the best, isn't he? Adorable and cool, simple but fascinating, utterly broken for his genre, yet a joy to play. There's hardly anything to hate about the little guy. As such, despite my absolute love for the Kirby series, it makes talking about him beyond what he offers at an introductory level really difficult. Kirby's good, you know he's good, it's obvious what makes him good. Go play Planet Robobot, it's like the best Power Fantasy game, it doesn't deserve to be locked in 3DS jail with Kid Icarus and SMT4, set them free please. New Kirby games tend to just showcase different gimmicks and unique ways to play with Kirby, rather than creating some kind of deeper innovation. Kirby's like a childhood friend. When you go over to his house, you already know your favorite game and that you're gonna play it together, and sometimes he'll throw in a brand new toy to add to the fun. Outside of the Dark Matter games being more focused on environmental puzzles, and those following Superstar's design focusing more on beat-em-up action than the platforming elements, Kirby's mainline series is just a cozy escape into pure playfulness every single time. And that's great. Kirby doesn't have to be anything more than a friend.
Hi!
However, there is one aspect of Kirby that has evolved in recent years. Its lore. Perhaps more than any other Nintendo franchise save for Smash, Kirby adores celebrating its history, bringing back past bosses and friends, giving them new forms or attacks to show off all the cool stuff that can be imagined with the passing of time. On top of that, it's no secret that Kirby games start nice and cheery, but end with a confrontation with a nightmarish, extra-dimensional being of reality-shattering power. For a while, a final boss at the end was all they were. As cool as the Nightmare Wizard and Marks and Zero 2 are, they're ultimately just terrifying foils to the pink puffball. You'd get a hint of a post-apocalypse Earth here or a demonic possession there, but these guys are just in the way to show how good Kirby is. That no matter how tough and scary it gets, a smile, optimism, and boundless potential can see it through. They're a nifty talking point when discussing the series, and I will love Marks forever, but not something to really take with you outside of the assuredly amazing final boss theme. That is, until Shinya Kumazaki became director of the Kirby series. Starting with Kirby Superstar Ultra, a great deal more focus was given to the overall continuity of the Kirby series. Marks would revive his dark soul, reanimating his defeated body for one final showdown. The most loyal Waddle Dee in King Dedede's army was given a bandana to distinguish him that would carry on through future installments. Meta Knight would go on his own journey and use the power of Nova to wish to fight the strongest warrior in the universe. All of these great but simple additions to Superstar's plot that gave it just a bit more character. But it was Kumazaki's first original Kirby game, Return to Dreamland, where the series would gain a significantly more grandiose presentation. The days of Kirby getting a cake stolen leading to oops, accidentally released the ancient evil eyeball man were gone. Now, Magalore alludes to the ancients of the universe as he tricks Kirby into slaying a space hydra to gain ultimate power. King Dedede is considered the strongest warrior of his planet, and is kidnapped to prevent his resistance against alien invaders who wish to drain Popstar dry. An evil galactic corporation wants to mechanize all of the planet to increase its corporate influence because its CEO has been driven mad with greed and power. Yo, Star Allies, is that a death cult? Cool. Needless to say, the lore of Kirby became a much deeper part of its overall narrative. Later bosses weren't just obstacles, they were intrinsic parts of Kirby's universe. Star Allies featured brainwashed friends with new super forms as area bosses, before moving on to the mysterious Mage Sisters, who all get their personalities and religious devotion to the Jamba Heart well established before their fights. Planet Robobot takes this a step further taking Kirby's enemies and twisting them into mutated and assimilated versions of themselves, while the higher-ups of Haltman Enterprises analyzed the weird pink ball in their own way. The plot wasn't just an excuse to move Kirby from Ice Cream Island to Butter Building, or to make King Dedede body horror again. Kirby had a story. Characters had arcs, and those arcs didn't always have the happiest endings. And what added to that, perhaps more than anything else, was the pause screen. No, really. This might sound a bit ridiculous at first pass, but a majority of Kirby's deeper mythology is tucked away in the pause menu. During boss fights, the descriptive text explaining Kirby's ability will change into a brief description of the boss. At first, this is just a little bit of flavor that can be seen easily in the story. Oh no! King Dedede would never steal all the food in Dreamland! Perish the thought! Oh, the ancient texts read that the snake's weakness is its head? Cute! But as time goes on, these descriptions stop being purely flavorful and start being charged with backstory and an odd emptiness. Villains in the later half of Kirby games stop being goofy apple trees and Mr. Duder. They start showing their failings, their tragedies, some playing before the camera, but most tucked away. While you can see the madness of President Haltman play out in front of you, his regrets, his pain, his motivation for living, all of these are tucked away to be discovered, only there if you truly want it. Those who oppose Kirby are tragic souls, perhaps entirely possessed by power, perhaps forces naturally driven to do harm, perhaps fulfilling their heart's mission that is turned dark and twisted. But they all add so much to Kirby's world and their stories that I can't do them justice just discussing them. Truly, they speak for themselves.
A sad shell possessed by the limitless power of the Master Crown. No more than a manifestation of the crown itself.
It has the look and voice of King Dedede, but not his soul. Some things can't be cloned. Some of the trial models were only interested in food, some were fearful of a certain insect, and all were imperfect.
All worlds, whether in another dimension or some far-flung galaxy, are bound by earth and sky. And where there is sky, there is Krakow. Made of fallen tears and the scattered mists of his enemies, Krakow roars with dark power.
His full name is Max Prophet Haltman. Ever since losing his only child, he's dedicated his life to his company. However, his only wish is to see his daughter once again.
Why did I reactivate such a terrible machine? Oh, I remember. I wanted to see her just one last time. How foolish! I should have known. No machine can make such a dream come true.
Tyranza's final words and offering can no longer reach her ears. The former queen has become a pitiable husk in the throes of madness after losing everything. She has consumed the world, and all she has left to cling to is her vanity.
But there's one that stands out above all else. Kirby's had his fair share of demons. A dark planet desiring nothing but assimilation, beings of pure nightmare reveling in torment, Onion Girl. But none compare, in both world building and scope, to perhaps the greatest and most terrifying being ever written into Kirby's mythos. For the entirety of Kirby's star allies, shards of the mysterious Jamba Heart are gathered, pulled out of friend and foe alike, intoxicated by their corrupting influence. Kirby must free his friends by battling through the mysterious Jambastion, a religious order dedicated to collecting their hearts for a dark ritual. Eventually, Kirby is able to defeat the Order's generals, the three Mage Sisters, and their High Priest, Lord Highness, in an attempt to stop whatever mean thing they happen to be doing. The Jamba heart nearly complete, his body giving out, Highness does the only thing he is capable of, sacrificing his own life and the lives of his generals in order to complete his cruel machinations. The essence of chaos, a godly being foretold by books of legend, revives, and the negativity and hatred gathered granted a form equal in destructive power to its violent emotions. Summoned forth is the true destroyer of worlds, a deity with the sole purpose to crush all opposition. Hatred, obsession, jealousy, greed, and chaos made manifest. It is the end of all. Rise, O Dark Lord of Despair. Crush the stars, lay waste to care. Rise and cover the land in sorrows. May your symphony of emptiness bring the end of all tomorrows. Rise, O Dark Lord of Despair. Crush the stars, lay waste to care. Upon your wing, dark judgment bring. May your symphony of tragedy cause the end of everything. Void, turn. And the craziest thing about this boss is introducing a suicide doomsday cult with universally apocalyptic consequences to Kirby isn't enough for it. Not only can it freely create Master Crowns to use as a tool, an artifact that almost destroyed the universe on its own in Return to Dreamland, but within the hulking monstrosity, there is its purest essence. As Kirby fights the Eater of Worlds, plunges into the belly of the beast, knocks away the corpse of the corrupted Highness, fueling it with hatred, the core takes notice of the pink puffball, and it reacts. He has begun to feel, to desire, to think. Within the void, there lurks a soul. And when that soul becomes manifest, it takes the form of a friend. This asks and answers so many questions. And the deeper the player goes, the more they fight, the harder they make it on themselves, the more the game answers. Facing the Dark Force in story mode, it begins laughing, almost playing as it fights, having strong overtones of Kirby's first melody, Green Greens, mixed into his boss theme. Slowly, it begins using attacks familiar to other bosses in the series, before morphing into a form any Kirby fan would know. Dark Matter. Kirby's friend Gooey possessed a similar copy ability to the Star Warrior, and always had a connection to the Dark Matter species, but never before was such a possible link created directly to Kirby. It fought on the Soul Melter difficulty in The Ultimate Choice, the hardest challenge in Star Allies before DLC came in. Void Soul shall appear. Delving into the pause screen presents a further reward, detailing the existence of Void.
No telling if it's true, but according to the ancient scrolls, Void Termina may rise again in other forms depending on whether positive or negative energy is gathered. It seems this being of darkness will wander the galaxy until one day he is reborn into a new existence. When he returns, hopefully we'll be as a friend!
But nothing is quite as strong as the clash with the hardest foe possible. Added at the end of Star Allies' life cycle was Soul Melter EX, the greatest challenge possible. There, replacing the soul, lies the astral birth itself, Void. Introduced with a splash screen of rapid colors mirroring the hyperzone that once contained Zero, the heart of all dark matter, Void plays with Kirby as aggressively as possible. Written into its soundtrack is a tragic piano version of Green Greens, a soulful and sorrowful refrain of peace, clashing with the chaotic theme of Void Termina. before eventually even that crumbles. The sounds of a Game Boy are mixed in, and the cheerful tune that started Kirby's adventures is turned into a lonely cry. And it is undoubtable. Void is dark matter. Dark matter is Kirby. Void is Kirby. A Kirby born of hatred and suffering instead of friendship and joy. Kirby himself is a destructive god who forsook his violent appetite in favor of peace, happiness, and bonds with others. Void is the tragedy of a Kirby without friends, and only the power of that friendship can truly put him to rest. The final battle is at hand. Void takes his first steps toward a new age. In place of tyrannical rage, will he find nap time? Gentle breezes? Treats? He may even dream again. A dream of friends reunited! You may already know all this. It's not as if Kirby lore is a massive secret. The fact that Kumazaki himself voices Void Termina is telling enough that they want this stuff to be known. There are excellent studies out there exploring Kirby's lore in a tonality befitting its depth. But does this lore really have a place? This is Kirby after all. He's got a winning formula and great character design. There shouldn't be a need to load him up with horrors from the great beyond. Tons of series have had dramatic twists or moments where they've taken themselves too seriously, and most have strayed away from such attack in the future. Why should Kirby be different? And moreover, if you're gonna commit to this bit, why hide the deep details in the pause menu? Kirby isn't Dark Souls. Piecing together bits of the ruined world around you isn't baked into the natural curiosity of the world. You just gotta kill Wispy Woods for the 50th time. And yet, something about this undeniably works. Something endearing ties all of these disparate pieces together, allowing them to function. What should be bloated and obtuse is made not only functional, but fascinating because of one simple piece.
Hi!
Kirby doesn't really care about his own lore. He's Kirby. He can't read the pause screen anyway. The little guy just wants to go about his day, make friends, eat a whole bunch, make sure everyone he cares about is safe, and that everyone being mean to them will stop it. No matter how complex the world around him is or how deep the lore gets, Kirby remains simple. Dark matter, heart matter, dream matter, doesn't matter. What Kirby is physically doesn't define him compared to what he is intrinsically. A friend. Whether he's fighting Mr. Duder or a world-ending nightmare, Kirby tackles every single problem with the same confidence, desire to play around, and positivity that he always exudes. The player can delve deeper, find stories to tug on the heartstrings and fascinate the mind, or they can just follow Kirby's path and move forward without much of a care. No matter what they choose, Kirby will be there with them, with the same answer. Let's play together and win together. And if they do delve deeper, all of the tragedy and mythos surrounding Kirby only elevates how powerful his simple message is. Kirby can overcome all of that and still do everything in his power to help others, because he's just that good of a boy.
Boo, boo, boo!
That's the beauty of Kirby's lore to me. No matter how tough things get, no matter how scary our obstacles, No matter how complex the world around us might become, a simple and earnest approach can always see us through. The solutions to our problems may not be as simple as Kirby, but the place one comes from to solving them is one of care, confidence, and love. If Kirby can fight monsters of immeasurable power and evil just because he cares, so can you. That's the message of the Kirby series to me. And it's one that's only shown brighter the more the series is developed around him. Kirby is shaped like a friend. Kirby is your friend. Kirby will always be your friend. And like him, you can take on anything. That's the value of Kirby. That's the story behind his lore. That's friendship.